Daniel Jones. The Daniel Jones regime, the Daniel Jones era is officially over. Benched after that, his worst game of the season, minus like the Eagles game probably. 24, 44, and 1 when he started. 3 and 13 since his extension. If you remember when DJ tore his ACL in November of 2023, I said, people are acting like that's the end of his career and we need to move on from him. And I supported him and I believed in him. And I thought that he could come back and get back to a good level. He's been written off and he's going to go somewhere and he's going to make us look like fools. But it was a move that had to be made from a business standpoint. And it was from a purely business standpoint, because the odds are, yeah, he does give us the best chance to win. But it's that injury guaranteed, dude. No thanks. I don't want to pay $23 million knowing this guy has an injury history. Why the hell is that in the contract? Why is that in the contract? I think the neck thing really messed with him. I think when he first injured the neck in 2021, that really threw a crimp into the way he played. Why it didn't affect him as much in 2022 and it did in 2023, I'll never know. I didn't like the pick. A lot of people didn't like the pick in 2019. It was a reach. He wasn't projected to go in the top 10. We picked him at 6, I think, or something like that. Boos rained down at the draft party hosted by the Giants at MetLife Stadium. But then again, Phil Simms was booed when we picked him in 1979. Phil Simms was hated, called Prince Valiant for the first 5-6 years. Like, pretty much detested. I think, like, maybe the tides kind of turned in 84, but, like, Big Blue VCR keeps rolling out that clip every year of fans talking shit about Phil Simms in 85. I think it might have been the 85 playoff game, wild card game against the Niners. And there's like man on the street interviews with New Yorkers and they're like, he sucks. I hope he and his family die in a fire. It's just like, okay. So, that's why I don't know. I thought that maybe, I wanted Dwayne Haskins in that draft. So, I mean, like, what do I know? Maybe things would have been different if he were drafted by the Giants and not Washington. But so, yeah, it was a reach. He was 17 and 19 at Duke. And there was a clip going around on Twitter. I think it was Todd McShay's reaction, draft expert's reaction to the Giants taking Jones at 6. And he's like, I don't know. The Giants fans, I don't know if they're mad, but they're definitely disappointed. And then he rattled off all the things, all the cons and negatives about Daniel Jones. And it's wild watching it now. What is it, 6 years later? And it's like, oh, yeah, every single one of those is true. It's still happening. It's still happening. I was down at a bachelor party in Tampa when he had his first start in 2019, end of September-ish or mid-September. And we were at it was the day I think it was the day I was supposed to leave. I had a night flight at night. And I was, so we were getting drinks at the tiki bar. We were down in not Tampa, but Clearwater, I think, at a tiki bar at the hotel, drinking and watching the game. And, when Matt Gay, the Bucks kicker, missed that kick and we won, I went nuts. But it was like, it just felt like, oh, we got him. We got a guy. And sadly, we wouldn't see much more of that. It was like, that was one of his top 3 games, if not top 2. Like, you might want to say the Saints game where he threw 420 some odd yards and 4 touchdowns. That was probably his best one. The Tampa game, 22 years old, 336 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 112.7 rating. So it does look like he's had better games over the course of his career by QB rating. The 2022 opener where we beat Tennessee by 1 game that we could have very easily lost. 119.7 QB rating in the November loss to the Commanders. 121.7 QB rating versus the Jets in a 34-27 loss. 124.2 QB rating against the Lions, a 31-26 loss. Again, those two are 2019. This is from the 2022 season, the New Year's Day game against the Colts, a team that fucking sucked. And the Lions in 2019 weren't great. The Jets in 2019 weren't great. This year's Commanders are good offensively. Defensively, I think there's still some issues there. Tennessee, I mean, that was the year that Vrabel got fired. And Tampa in 2019, a team that they didn't go to the playoffs, and they ended up getting Brady the next year. 132.1 QB rating against Washington. That was the 41-35 win towards the end of 2019, where everyone was like, but we're supposed to be tanking, and we need to get Chase Young. And then the Houston game, 153.3 QB rating, which is pretty much perfect, but it was like, and we won, but it was 13 of 17 for 197 yards and 2 touchdowns. And like, you look at all of his like worst QB ratings, it's all 2023 and 2024. It's like 2 games from his rookie season, 1 or 2 games from 2020 and 2021. But majority of it is 2023 and 2024. 5 touchdowns he threw against Washington in 2019, December 2019. 4 touchdowns he threw against the Jets in 2019. 4 touchdowns he threw against Detroit in 2019. He has not thrown, forget about 4 or 5 touchdowns. He has not thrown 3 or more touchdowns since December of 2019. And people are upset that there are still people that are upset about the benching, but you can't defend his play anymore, man. 18-point second half comeback in that game against Tampa in his rookie season. Threw for 2 touchdowns, rushed for 2, including the game winner with 116 left. That's something that I don't know that we've seen that since that game. His first start in the goddamn league. He threw 24 touchdown passes his rookie season. 34% of his career passing touchdowns came in those 12 starts. That's not good, okay? He did have an NFL high 19 fumbles as a rookie. Turnovers were an issue. And then, we talked about that Thursday night game against the Eagles in 2020, where he has the 88-yard run, trips and falls. I think this is Dan Duggan saying it was a flicker of promise, but ultimately a disappointing result, which, again, as Big Blue VCR said, encapsulates the Daniel Jones experience and tenure with the Giants. Art Stapleton said, I think in 6 years, I wrote the Giants had their franchise quarterback and Daniel Jones on 4 different occasions. That first start against Tampa in 2019, the Saints game in 2021, where he threw for over 400 yards, the New Year's Day game against the Colts, and then the Vikings playoff game. When Jones was at his best, he was good enough to tease you that something greater was on the horizon. Yeah, what a tease, man. It doesn't compute. It's like, wait, that's the same guy that just tore apart the Saints? But it's like, he can't do it for a full game. Like, even in that Saints game, we were down big, like 20 some odd 18 points or something like that. Cardinals game, there was someone who posted, the highlights of the Cardinals game. That was all second half. Saints was like all fourth quarter-ish, third quarter, fourth quarter-ish. So like, he's never really put together a full complete game where you say, oh, that's a quarterback that can win us, playoff games and win us games. 2022, we were winning not because of Daniel Jones. Majority of the games we won, it was like we had a crazy good running game. And then we can exploit defenses based on the fact that our run was so proficient. We could then exploit defenses with play action. And play action was like huge for us in 2022. And even the play action wasn't like deep shots or shit like that. Play action, for the most part, was just like dump to Belly, dump to James, dump to whoever. So declining the 5th year on him for 2023 was a mistake. The 5th year option would have locked Jones in at $22.4 million for 2023. And then we are free and clear in 2024 once he misses the entirety of the season yet again. If we ever do dabble into like multiverse, if we ever get into that, like alternate realities, multiverse, I would love to have seen what would have happened if we're like, yeah, we'll do the 5th year option for 2023. And then, obviously he gets hurt and it's like, what would you have done then? Franchise tag? I don't know, for 2024. Rather than giving in to Barkley with a contract worth roughly $25 million guaranteed, Shane wound up guaranteeing $82 million to Daniel Jones. We'll be eating $22.2 million in dead money. 29 touchdowns and 30 interceptions in 35 career home games, compared to 41 touchdowns and 17 interceptions in 35 career road games. Whoa. That again makes me believe that he's going to go somewhere else and play well. It's just MetLife. Something happens when he steps onto the field. There's like a invisible force field where it just like sucks all the powers out of him. The failures weren't all Jones' fault, but he wasn't able to overcome the circumstances around him. And that's, I was thinking about it again. I was like, this is what I do. I lay in bed and I think about the Giants. It's awful. It's pathetic. But it was like the number of times that Eli had to put the game on his back, the team on his back, the game on his shoulders. And, he didn't come through 100% of the time, but he came through more times than he didn't, specifically like the first half of his career for sure. And then the second half, it was, that was great. But yeah, I mean, we always talk about how hardworking Daniel Jones is and how tough he is. I don't know. I guess maybe it ended up being a psychological thing with him. If he's so smart, why does it take him so long to process? Slow eyes, slow this, slow that. Why is it? But he's a fast guy. It's like he can run fast. He just can't process defenses fast. After the 2021 season, John Mara said, we've done everything possible to screw this kid up. Coaching changes, perennially poor offensive line, lack of playmakers. Yeah, we did. It still looked like he was coming out of it in 2022. But what's weird is, I don't know. I guess in the evaluation process with him, they said, well, look at what he did. I don't know. The stats when Saquon and Daniel Jones and Andrew Thomas are all starting and healthy. The record obviously is much better than when 2 or 3 of them are healthy, or 1 of 3 of them, or 0 of 3 of them healthy. When one of them is missing, or one or more of them is missing, we just don't win games. So how did that not factor into the decision making that, like, okay, these 3 guys are really important, but we're going to let one walk. We're not going to get insurance for one guy, and we're not going to get insurance for the other guy. You look at Daniel's time at Duke, it's like he was 17 and 19. You look at Eli's time at Ole Miss. I don't know what his record is, but I think one of the, I actually wrote about this for a blog I used to work for, but Ernie Accorsi went to like a bowl game where they were down by 21 points and Eli led them back to a win. And it wasn't because of the guys around him. Obviously you need to have some semblance of skill to help out your quarterback, but like he wasn't getting a lot of protection and he would, drops, blah, blah, blah. There's things going against Eli, even then in Ole Miss, where he could overcome. Daniel Jones can't overcome, One of the other notes about Daniel was under pressure. His numbers under pressure, awful. His numbers outside the pocket were great his rookie season. They've gone to shit since then. What happened? It's like, how were you coaching him? What were you coaching him about? Like, was it too much? Were you overwhelmed? To me, that is going to be my number one metric. What are your numbers under pressure? I don't know why this popped up, but in my head, I think about the last year's game against the Niners, right? Wink Martindale, known for blitzing, he blitzed a shit ton, and he blitzed even more against the Niners. And Brock Purdy, I think we blitzed like 80% of the time. Brock Purdy, you looked at his numbers when he's blitzed or under pressure, and when he wasn't pressured, and he was almost better under pressure, if not the same level as when he was not under pressure. So that has to be your top measurement stick, top metric to think about. Your top KPI, key performance indicator, is what are his numbers under pressure? I really did want Daniel to work out. I think everyone thought after that win in Minnesota in the playoffs, it was like, this is it. This is like we're launching into the next level. We're not looking back. And instead, that was the pinnacle. That was the peak. We were there. And I guess, I don't know, we kind of enjoyed the view, and then quickly reminded the next week against the Eagles that no, we're not even close, dude.